Well, welcome to another edition of Carnivore News. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. I believe this is our third segment on the news format. Correct, Dr. Lopkin?
It is. And
very good. So, go ahead.
Unfortunately, we need to kick it off with sad news. Of course, the tragic death of Kobe Bryant in a helicopter crash.
Yes.
FAA investigators and NTSB investigators are on the scene. So far, they have not released any information as to what caused the crash, although they have said that the area they flew into in the crash was incredibly foggy. They actually had trouble finding the crash scene because of the fog. So they're leaning towards that as a cause.
That would certainly make sense. The impeachment efforts are now moving to the Senate, and a last-minute variable thrown in with the Bolton manuscript that is pushing those senators and maybe some even others that were on the fence now leaning towards actual testimony.
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that they need 60 votes to bring in witnesses and testimony, but they need 67 to actually impeach. So even if they get the witnesses and new testimony, it doesn't really swing the vote in terms of impeachment.
Okay, good. What else, Dr. Lopkin?
Just today, actually, breaking news just a few hours ago, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Trump administration on changes to public charge immigration rules. This means that immigrants that are on public assistance, like food stamps and welfare, will find it harder to get permanent residency here. It's all part of the Trump administration's efforts to crack down on people coming here just to use public assistance and abuse the American system.
Interesting. And then something that's getting increasingly more news attention is the coronavirus. It's actually had an effect on the stock market, especially today as we speak. And a very dangerous potential outbreak, certainly devastating or beginning to devastate parts of China, has a 4% fatality rate.
Yes, the Chinese government is right now literally building prefab hospitals in order to deal with the outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, as you said, in the markets are down sharply because of worries about the coronavirus. Because China has closed so many cities and businesses in order to halt the outbreak, they're expecting shortages in manufacturing, shortages in retail, and because this is a holiday season in China, their economy is going to take a hit because of lack of spending. So all of that has affected both European and American markets, causing all of the markets to drop sharply. In the week ahead, markets are still in the middle of earnings season, with the big three tech companies of Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon expected to report earnings this week. So we'll see what kind of effect that has on the market.
Yes, and the final news brief that relates to the economy is that for economists that were polled, 67% see no recession, but yet growth around 1 to 2% throughout 2020.
That's correct.
And I think that concludes our. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Any other comment on that, Dr. Lopkin?
Just that later this week, also in the economy, the federal banks are expected to make an announcement. No changes in interest rates are expected, but they are watching the situation to see what will be needed in the future.
Very good. That concludes our third edition of Carnivore News Bites, and we'll be doing that again next Monday.
We'll see you then. You've been listening to Carnivore Bites, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can catch us every week on carnivoreradio.com, exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast Store, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.